this thing, bro.
Let's do it.
You know what time it is?
Yeah, man. It's live time.
It's time for a late night live. Late night live. Night live. Recording right now. Oh man. Life's good, you know what I mean?
hmm Especially when it's late at night.
Yeah. Yeah. In the words of a future bro, red bottoms on. Life's good, you know what I mean? Oh, Darian on that notification gang. What's going on, man?
Oh man.
Man, we got some good stuff we're going to talk about tonight. I'm just in a really good mood, dude. I'm in a really just splendid mood.
You're in a
We'll
good
have to,
mood, bro?
in a good mood, man. I can't even explain why. Probably just a bunch of weight off my shoulders for the album
That's good.
that is called Steal the Sun. Comes out everywhere Friday, July 22nd. And we'll be celebrating it at the Brickyard in Wichita with an album release show featuring Ether and Atria and a drink special called Steal the Sunrise. It's going to be a vodka sunrise, dude. Don't tell anybody that.
Mm,
It's an exclusive.
okay.
I'm not telling anybody what
Explosive.
it is. Yep. It's really good. I love orange juice. I love grenadine in certain situations. And I love, well, I shouldn't say that. I enjoy vodka beverage. I was about to be like, I love vodka. No, yeah, so that's anyway, all that stuff's going on. Yeah, so today we're going to talk about NASA's new um images that they released from the new telescope. James Webb images is the James Webb telescope. Trying to remember when this thing launched, man. Uh Launched into orbit in 1990 before either of us were born.
Which one? The Hubble?
No. This oh, nah, yep, my bad. Yeah. This is why you have to read. You
Yeah,
know,
man. That's why I was a little bit confused. I was like, I'm pretty darn sure that we remember talking about it earlier this year.
can't read.
Or
Yeah.
I guess
So
technically last year was.
wait, so did it just launch last year?
hmm
Whoa. That's crazy. It's already this powerful that can get shots of things that the Hubble had to fly years to get shots of.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is that this was going to be, this has been what, 10, 15 years in the making.
Okay.
Um, and it had like a whole, they actually had to fold it up first. So they had to fold the whole thing up a little bit to get it into the rocket. And then they launched it into the rocket. And it's in a farther out orbit than where the Hubble is.
Mhm.
So that way it can get clearer pictures. And then it
Okay.
took, I think, what, 6 months or something like that for everything to get fully calibrated.
Yeah. Um, this is something that I wanted to talk about. So this is kind of a mind bender for me before we get into the images. And for those of you listening on the audio level, we are live streaming right now on Facebook and on YouTube. And we are able to chat with our viewers in real time about these topics. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Very excited to connect with some people tonight. Um, yeah, and so we're going to show the images on the live stream as well. This is something that is interesting to me. I'm going to pop this one up first because
hmm
this was probably my favorite image, the dying star, right?
Oh yeah.
So dying star collapses and then forms a black hole, right? Which we know,
Depends on the type of star. So
sure.
it either dies and has like a big old giant supernova, and then eventually it collapses in on itself, and then you get a black hole.
Okay.
Or I forgot. I think it's the bigger stars that are the ones that turn into black holes. Slightly smaller stars like ours uh, co-
Supernova.
eventually turn into white dwarfs.
Okay. And then they explode, right? They don't implode, they explode.
They do explode. Like for our sun, right? It would essentially go into different phases. So first, it would get into its red giant phase, where it would consume most of the solar system, and then it would essentially. I think at that point, it doesn't really explode. Actually, it implodes,
Okay.
and then it collapses into a white dwarf, which is much smaller and colder star,
Yeah.
and then it just eventually fizzles itself out. But
Fizzles out.
it's
Okay.
billions and billions of years after that.
Sure. So it burns, it runs out of fuel, basically.
Yeah,
It can't sustain itself at that point. Gotcha.
yeah.
So this is what's really interesting to me. I actually, admittedly, have not seen this yet. So here we go, entire screen. So this is the photo of this dying star that the Hubble took. Okay. Now you'd be like, well, let's say anywhere from 10 to 20 or even 30 years have passed since the Hubble took this image, right?
Hmm.
But still, stars die in the spans of hundreds of years, not in a few short years. So this would go on forever, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so with that said, take a look at this. It looks beautiful. Looks like a George O'Keeffe painting. um, but then go to this one, and that's the same star. And look at the detail of that, man.
Yeah,
Look at
I know. It's crazy. It's
that's
crazy.
fascinating. It's insane. It
Yeah.
looks
Well,
like it literally looks like what they created in the Marvel universe. Like this over the top, colorful kind of stuff.
hmm well, you know what's even crazier is that um technically where this star is, right, it's already finished this whole process. But the amount of time that it takes for the light to get to us, we're only able to see this. So we're already seeing the past.
Yes.
Um,
Okay. So that is exactly what I wanted to ask you about. But I think we got to roll the intro before we get into it, man.
of course, man.
Okay. That literally is. This is the biggest question I had. I don't want to spoil it. Okay. Anyway, here we go. 3, 2, 1. All
Oh
right, my
man,
title one.
just in time.
My title one. I gotta get this chicken out of the oven, guys. Delicious.
Yeah, John's got to get him some chicken so that way he can, have his dinner ready to go. Uh, he went and saw a movie, so uh, you know he's got to eat. Guys got to
Boy, gotta
eat.
eat. Man, I don't know how to
Hopefully, though.
tell when it's done.
Wait, what?
I don't know how to tell when it's done, bro.
How do you mean you don't know? Do you
I'm
not have
not.
a thermometer?
No, I don't have a. I don't have a meat thermometer, bro.
Oh man, 101 at cooking, man. You need to have a thermometer, man. You got to get that meat thermometer.
Man, I do have a toothpick though.
Yeah, it's not gonna help.
I don't know. It looks pretty golden brown to the outside. I'm not gonna lie.
Cut it. Cut one of the tenders or whatever like that. Cut them in the like the thick part of the chicken, and then if it's all pink, then that's an issue. You got to cook that.
Yeah.
It's not like red meat,
Right.
where you can eat red meat almost raw.
If you hear me scream, don't worry.
I'll remember that.
Don't
With
worry. All right.
wait, what?
We're okay.
We're good.
Oh, that's straight white meat, baby. Let's
Oh
go.
man.
Let's go. I can only imagine what this looks like on the podcast right now.
It sounds weird, probably.
Let's go, baby. Oh man, I have an apron. I didn't even know I had that. Oh man, I don't know if I can carry this one-handed. Shit. I
Hey,
hope so.
be careful, man. You know it's hot. You don't want
I
to get
know.
burned by that chicken.
I know. I don't. Ooh, I don't like that. Yep. I'm gonna need something else. Man, these are trying times, man.
Hey,
Trying times.
man,
Here.
it's hot. It gets real hot.
Oh, this is an apron. This is to grab really big stuff like this, right? Let's make sure
Sure. I
before
don't
I
know what
burn
you're doing. I can't
this
see.
thing.
Uh, well, okay. Um, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, that's to grab big ones. Yeah, that's not an apron for sure.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, we're good. We're good. Man, this is gonna taste great.
As long as you don't burn yourself, man.
Hey, shh. We don't need that. We don't need that.
Hey, man, I always like to put that out there so that way
Why?
everybody knows.
Ain't no reason,
Hey, you got to be careful always.
bro. Honestly, I'm gonna just let it cool here for a second.
That
I
might be
think
the
I
best
overloaded it
option
with
right now.
man. I think I overloaded it with too much chicken, man. I'm gonna let it cool for a second. I already spilled some honey mustard, man. Don't want to do that again.
Nah, man. You don't
Okay.
want to spill
All
the
right.
honey mustard.
We'll come back to that. I'll give you all an update soon. Okay. Okay, let's roll the intro, bro. All right, here we go. Three, two, one. What's going on, everybody? I'm John,
And I'm Dennison.
and this is the catch up. Oh man, that chicken smells so
Yeah.
good. Oh man, I gotta have some. Should I just go in and send it? Whatever
Send
happens
it,
to my
man.
whatever happens to my tongue happens.
I
Um,
mean, probably not because that'll make it a less enjoyable situation.
you're right. You're right. Patience is a virtue, bro. Good point. Um,
Mm,
all right. Well, here we go. Three,
oh,
two,
look at
the
that.
catch up. Oh my
Hmm.
god. This is. I actually, Christina, I told Dennison probably a couple years ago, probably 2 years ago. I said we needed to make a food. We needed to make a cooking podcast spinoff and call it the Catch Up. Oh man, we would make so much money.
Hmm.
Um,
Be rolling in this money, man.
yeah, dude, money would be everywhere. Um, okay, three, two, one. Before I get into that question, I want to ask Denison. I want to remind you guys the best ways to support us. The easiest and quickest ways to leave us a rating and review wherever you're listening. Let us know what you think of the show. If you're enjoying it, what you think of the episode that you're listening to, and subscribe if you like us as well. Every time you do that, it tells the algorithm that people are reacting to our show, and it helps spread it to other potential listeners. So wherever you're listening, wherever you're watching, please do that for us. The next best way is to jump on the live stream with us. We're live streaming on Facebook, live streaming on YouTube right now. You can jump in real time with the discussion, and this is a very visual discussion this week. So it would
Hmm.
definitely be great for you guys to jump in on that conversation with us. And then next, if you want to support us beyond that, support us financially, go to our website. It's nosignalrocks.com. There's a drop down menu for the Catch Up Podcast, or just hit the link wherever you're listening, and it will take you right to that page for the podcast. So, with that said, this is the biggest question I have. Okay.
Hmm.
So, we're looking at this photo from the James Webb Telescope, right? Ultra HD. I'm sure you've seen all the memes of this, right? Where it's like,
I
look,
actually haven't seen the
yeah.
memes.
So the first one I saw, of course, was Mercedes F1 said, "Wow, this is such a high definition image. Look what happens when you zoom in." And that gleam right in the middle, that other star right here,
Hmm.
they put the Mercedes logo over it.
Oh my gosh.
It's kind of funny. Um, but there's been all kinds of different ones. Anyway, so my question is, I'm just going to throw out random numbers. If the telescope takes a photo of this dying star from, let's say, 6 billion light years away, right?
Yep.
And then, but it's zoomed in at a level that's, let's say, 1,000 light years away, right?
Sure.
I'm just throwing numbers out there.
Yep.
Yeah, don't worry about the specifics, but let's just say that it is, okay?
Yep.
Are you seeing I don't I feel like I know the answer, but like, are you seeing it as what it looked like 1,000 years ago? Or are you seeing it what it looked like 6 billion years ago?
Technically, it would be the first one. So you are seeing it a billion years ago because, if I'm thinking of it correctly, right,
Give me 1,000. Give me 1,000.
or 1,000 years. Sorry,
Okay.
yeah,
Right. Okay. For this analogy, right?
yeah. For this analogy, yes, 1,000 years, because it took 1,000 years for that light to travel to us.
But okay. But again, okay. That's what I'm saying though. So like the telescope is physically located. I'll make it maybe a little bit more realistic. The telescope is physically located 6 million light years away from a nebula. Okay.
Hmm.
It takes a photo at a zoom distance that would be equivalent to 5 billion, right? 5 million, I mean. So are you seeing that star, that nebula, what it looked like 5 million years ago or what it looked like 6 million years ago? You know what I'm saying? Because the reason I ask is like zoom is done off of refracting light. This is all based off of the speed of light. I don't know. Like, I don't know.
So technically, there's not, at least to my knowledge, at least, there's not really a zoom when it comes to this far of a distance, right? Like the
It's
whole
just,
big thing about the difference between like the Hubble and the James Webb, the Hubble is using like a relatively traditional camera, which is like a big giant sensor, right? And a bunch of lenses to focus in everything, right? The James Webb is using a bunch of different mirrors, and it's actually using infrared to be able to see farther out, because essentially the way how it works is, right, the visible light spectrum um, will travel at a certain speed to get to where we are,
sure.
but as you get farther out, that light gets harder and harder to see, right? The farther you want to see, the dimmer it gets. And
Yeah.
infrared is where those galaxies, those views are, you're able to see more things because those are the dimmer parts, right? Your infrared zone is your dimmer version, or your uh, dimmer visual light spectrum,
Okay.
if that makes any
So
sense.
it does.
So
But also they're taking extremely high definition photos with that as well, right?
yes,
So what you're saying is technically not zooming in at all, and any apparent zoom is created through a different method that is not based off of bending light.
correct. So technically, if you really think about it, the colors that we see here is all
Yeah,
colorized. So we do the colorization there. We're not actually getting pictures that look like this, or they will look like shape wise, all of this will look correct, but the colors are added in after the fact. So
so you're saying this
remember,
is
if
this color?
pardon,
You're saying this isn't actually this color then?
most likely yes.
W- So why do they do that?
Is because it makes it visually pleasing. It's still high definition. It's just, it's, no one wants to look at a red looking picture. Because if you looked at
Oh,
actually some of the James Webb's telescopes first, like, alignment pictures, like
yeah,
when it was trying to get all of its mirrors around aligned, if you notice, everything was red.
sure. Sure.
So
Okay.
that is the big difference there.
Sure. So this was another one of my favorite ones. This whole nebula here. But to your point, this does look like a painting, and that's because essentially it kind of is, right? They fill in the colors here.
Yeah, they colorized it a little bit
Man,
to make it look nicer.
I hate that.
But
I mean, I
yeah,
love it. I also hate it. I just want to know what I feel like I want to know what it really looks like, you know?
I think when they do the colorization, they try to kind of do guesstimation of exactly what it would be because it's going off of like the type of clouds, right? Like the clouds that are here, what it would probably look like, all the other good stuff. It's
Yeah.
kind of very similar to when we first got that first picture of the black hole of a black hole, like the first black hole that we've ever been able to take a picture of, or at least
Yeah.
an idea of what it looks like. It doesn't look pretty, right? We haven't colorized that. It's because it's very granular. Uh, it's uh, it's hard to view. So,
Yeah. I
but
don't know.
these pictures are a little bit different.
I get that. I'm reading here. Um, yeah. So it says their first full color photos from, but I can't find anywhere that it wouldn't have that. You know what I mean? Or where
Mhm.
you could see where it would not be that. Um, their light gets redshifted farther into the infrared, making them dimmer and invisible to the capabilities of previous telescopes. Its ability to see longer wavelengths in the infrared with incredible sharpness will bring those early star and galaxies into focus, revealing details of how our universe began and formed. So, um, this is really what's
That's
interesting.
the big
Uh,
part about the James Webb, is that it's
yeah,
able to see that farther out.
yeah. The colors in the image are synthetic, so that's what you were saying.
Yep.
Okay, so I figured that. Damn, that's such a bummer. I mean, it's not a bummer, but it's like I almost want to see. I mean, what do you think when they colorize an image like what we're looking at here? Do
Hmm.
you think that they do it true to form, or do they do it to make people go, "Oh, ah"? Like, what do you think?
I would say that they try to do it as true to form as they can.
Yeah, I would too.
That's why I would say, before they kind of could understand like these dust clouds that they see here, they're like, okay, well, the type of elements that are a part of that would probably make something similar to this color.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Trying to find this here. This is El Pius. Science and tech. Colors in the image are synthetic. Telescopes record images in black and white through colored filters, combining several shots of the same field obtained at different wavelengths. It is possible to show what they would have looked like to the human eye, although the color palette will always be to some degree artificial, since much of the light in the infrared is invisible. Um, difference between unimaged. Okay. Yeah. So that's interesting. I would love to know. Well, okay. Yeah. So that actually is kind of a stupid argument now that I think about it, because really all that is, you're looking at um, how they colorized it, right? But if I was to say, well, I want to know what it really looks like, ideally, it really looks like this, what this image
Yeah.
is, you
Yeah. It
know?
still looks the same. It's just we've changed the colors around or made the colors, plopped in the color to make it a little bit nicer to view.
Yeah.
That's all.
So, um, see, this is the other thing I want to figure out. Does James Webb Telescope have a zoom? Because you were saying no. And so I want to like dig into that more. Um, yeah, it's no zoom is possible. And there's not even an eyepiece, just a set of spectrographs and photometer cameras, like you said. Um, and so, not that I was arguing that. I was just
No,
curious.
I know.
Like, yeah. Um, Yeah, so oh, here we go. Let me Is this it?
Oh, I can't see it if
I'm
you're
gonna pop it up
you
here.
got it. Okay.
Yes. There.
Oh, there we go.
This is really big brain stuff right here.
That's
Um,
super fascinating.
yeah. So this is the blueprint, I guess you would say, of the actual uh, Space Telescope Science Institute. So this would be a diagram
Hmm.
of the inside of the camera.
Oh, look at that.
So yeah, look what a little Google will do, man. Crazy. Um, so yeah, if we take a look at this here, you have thermal control for the camera that gives it a certain Kelvin rating, so it has a certain brightness to it. Don't know what ASIC is or FPA, but we bounce to these cameras. Do. Or sorry, not cameras, but lenses, right? These are just bouncing the light off of that.
Yeah, it's big giant like mirrors or so.
It helps
Um,
you align, which is really interesting. So the more you do that, I think the idea there is to make the laser, the alignment of it as accurate as possible. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
why it took months for it to finish its alignment. Is because they tried to make sure that everything was perfect, so that way they can get really good pictures.
yeah, yeah. That is really fascinating to me. I don't know. So I think what I want to talk about next, and I don't think it says here in any of these articles, but uh, I'll leave this photo up because it's amazing. Um,
Hmm.
what is the goal here for that? So it's wanting to know the formation of our universe, right? So
Hmm.
riddle me this, man.
Yeah.
It's going across, taking photos. It sees the Bifrost open, and then it turns and it's like, holy cow! Catches a guy with a hammer on camera flying through space. All I'm saying is this the start of the Avengers?
Who knows, man? Who knows? Maybe this is how we finally discovered the Avengers is real. We're just
Yeah,
part of the early galaxies.
right. Well, they were, dude. They were. We know this for a long time. Um, yeah, I don't know, man. Um, yeah, I don't know. So I want to let you talk about it because I want to know. But like, what is the ultimate goal with this telescope? Like, what is next for it? Because one thing I saw said, "Hey, yeah, these are cool, but they're just the tip of the iceberg of what's to come." Right?
Yep. Yep. So the big goal is to be able to see what, kind of like what you read earlier, where we're trying to see early galaxies, like very, very early galaxies. Because,
Mm,
like I said, everything that we're viewing, right? This, the image that you showed beforehand, and anything that we look up really in the sky is the past. So the whole point of this is to be able to view farther in the past by being able to take on a different wavelength, which is
mm,
your infrared spectrum, which is
yeah.
that dimmer light. So hopefully we'll be able to see far enough back to where we can see, like, galaxies super far away being able to, like, just now, or from our perspective, are just now being formed, so we get to see like how the building blocks work, like how do all the stars and all sorts of other things kind of come together in that process, and
Yeah.
even be able to see some of their, like, I think this is probably some of the most interesting stuff, is be able to see like some of the very early signs, or ending remnants of the Big Bang and kind of see like how all that works, or like how that worked, or how that happened, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would be the ultimate outcome though is, I mean, this is the thing about telescopes is like it provides a lot of these really cool images, right? But what are the things that we could learn from it, you know?
Yeah. So I'm not a super like I'm not a physicist, so I wouldn't know exactly, but I think the
Right.
biggest thing about it is being able to understand how, if we can understand how galaxies are formed, we can better that can help us understand like where we need to look for, if say we were looking for different forms of life form, right? Or
Yeah.
even uh or even like better, more habitable planets for us to say if we wanted to fly to, or all sorts of other things like that.
Mhm.
um it just kind of helps us get a better picture of like how the universe works, so that way we can better define how or what we need to look for, say if it's for intelligent life in the universe, or um understanding different phenomena that happen in the universe, like say dark matter, right?
Yeah.
Understanding how that works, because if you're able to see the early stages of galaxy formation,
Mhm.
then that might give you some clues towards how dark matter works, and that can how that manipulates the universe to do
Mhm.
what it does.
Yeah. So here's the thing though. So what's his name? Neil deGrasse Tyson did an interview a couple days ago.
Hmm.
And Elon Musk had talked about how he wanted to or he had tweeted, right? Said humanity will be on Mars in your lifetime, right?
Hmm.
And so they were talking about, and I don't think this is fully fair because he didn't necessarily say colonize Mars in this interview, but they were asking Neil deGrasse Tyson, do you think we'll colonize Mars? And he's like, there's so many things that need to happen before we could do that. And really, who would want to live on Mars in its current state, right? Wouldn't make any sense. So there's so many things that need to happen before then, right? And I guess just like, it's interesting to me with some of these things. Of course, we want to know, we um, boldly go where no one has gone before, right? but
Hmm.
but yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because it seems like cool we can send a telescope out there, but man, we're not even probably hundreds of years away from being able to travel those distances, you know?
Hmm. I mean, what was it? 2 months ago, I think, scientists had discovered a way to create, now, of course, on like a theoretical scale, but to create kind of like a warp bubble,
Mm,
where essentially space and kind of bends around uh, a specific bubble type deal, which we could use for some sort of like a warp drive to help us to be able to get to these vastly far distances in a shorter period of time than what we can do now.
sure.
So um, it may not be too far fetched to where maybe not in our lifetime, but even like a few, or maybe like a couple hundred years ago later,
Yeah.
we may be able to use this as like a basis to understand like, okay, cool, this is all we need to do, and this is how far we need to actually travel, or whatever like that.
Yeah. Yeah, excuse me. I agree. So having been catching up on a lot of Marvel movies lately, they end up like on the Guardians of the Galaxy, they have the wormhole that they travel through. Um, but opening a wormhole to travel through space seems a lot less likely than doing some sort of like you said, warp drive, which is based off of Star Trek. But I feel like, so it's interesting to me. There's no resistance in space, right?
Yep.
And so we'd have to find a way to slow down, provided we did get that fast. But to move molecules fast enough to where we could travel, what they would do 9 times the speed of light, right? Um, I mean, that's some serious quantum physics, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Now you'd have to do, I mean, you'd have to essentially create either, like you said, like a wormhole, right? Or you
Yeah.
would have to essentially bend space time around you to where you're able to move along that plane to go past or kind of break the laws of physics in some ways, because we know that the speed of light is our constant, right? It's our universal constant. um,
Mhm.
and so you kind of have to bend those rules to be able to go faster than it.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, was thinking about this, and here I'm going to dump this image here.
Yeah.
Oh, uh, there we go. So yeah, I was thinking about this. And if we were to develop something like that based off of quantum physics, again, to move matter that quickly, I feel like we also have the ability to understand these things that we've talked about in recent weeks and months that are along the lines of uh, multiverse and string theories and these things. Even if it is disproving them, which is completely possible as well. But
Hmm.
just understanding that that is out there. Um, I don't know. I think that it really is fascinating to me. And what's crazy is, I just want to go out there and get it, right? Like,
Hmm.
I love the photos, but it's like, man, it just makes me want to, you know, get on the Starship Enterprise and head that way and see what's going on out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's super impressive, or really it's super just interesting to figure out like what could truly be out there waiting for you in the universe, and kind of see where to go from there. Like
yeah,
really, because like we've already talked about before, everything that we see is in the past. So um if it's that, so like what is everything at by the time that you get there? Because that's
yeah,
another kind of crazy question to think about too, is that as you move faster, time slows down around you, and you know what effect does that come to?
yeah. Right. I know. There's so many. Oh, it's just mind bending, man. Everything is so clear cut here on Earth, comparatively. It's like as soon as you start bending light like that, what happens when you start uh, going on different gravitational forces like that? What happens to the sense of time? Especially changes of universe. Man, it's
Hmm.
fascinating. There's so much that's like just hard for the human brain to comprehend. Christina's jumping in on the comments here. She says, "Join the Space Force."
Yeah.
Um, Something tells me the Space Force probably doesn't get the funding it thought it would anymore.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
I was actually just thinking about that the other day. I'm gonna type in what happened to the Space Force. Let's see. Yeah, it's still under the Department of the Air Force. That's the thing. But if I join the Space Force, I'm gonna have to get armed.
Hmm.
I'm gonna have to start shooting laser cannons,
Hey man, but you could be the next Buzz Lightyear.
dude. Not
You
the
know,
next. I'd be
or the first Buzz Lightyear.
yeah. I'd be the first Buzz Lightyear. That'd be cool. Yeah, or I could be Mega Man, bro. That'd be even better. They just chop off my hand and put a photon cannon at the end of it. Pretty rad.
There you go. Wow.
I'd be down for that. Yeah,
Mhm.
I don't know. It's interesting. I find these things really fascinating, and it's just it goes back to what we were talking about a couple of weeks ago with again the quantum mechanics of everything and string theory and multiverse theory. I keep finding that come up in my conversations, which is amazing. I do think that we need to get an actual physicist on this show.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
think so.
yeah, and I don't see why not. Um, I'll look one up right now on the live stream. Wichita State University. Why not?
Mhm.
It's the closest. It's the closest one. Let's see. So if we went physics, yeah. So staff, where are you? Computational astrophysics is in this place. Okay, so they research in physics. Man, I wish I had wanted to do numbers and stuff. This would be so cool.
Mhm.
Experimental condensed matter, theoretical particle physics, which is string theory and multiversal theory, quantum computing and information theory, experimental particle physics, and computational astrophysics. Um, let's see,
All that
assistant
sounds amazing.
professor. Yeah. Oh wow. So they're studying particle collider. Um, yeah, they're studying the Large Hadron Collider that we talked about a few weeks ago.
Hmm.
Um, I got this associate professor's number right here. He has a PhD from the University of Wisconsin Madison in 2006. Seems like a qualified guy. Uh,
Mhm.
I would love that, man. I think that's something that we need to do.
Yeah.
We got Alan Bestwick on the show just about a year ago, so there's no reason we couldn't get a physicist on this show,
Yeah, man.
man. I feel like it keeps coming up, and I think it'd be a cool thing to talk and learn about.
Yeah,
Um,
I think so.
but yeah,
I think it
no,
would
it,
be
it
amazing.
really, yeah. So I'm trying to think, are there like any sort of programs, or really what's the plan for NASA next to continue? Because you hear all this talk about Mars. Meanwhile, this telescope's like, oh, I'm just going to do my thing. I'm doing my thing. Right. It's just taking all these photos out here.
Mhm.
I don't know. I mean, I remember there being talk about going to the moon um, again.
Yep,
Which
going to the moon again.
I don't think we need to do that, but whatever.
I think I think so. I think the moon houses a lot of untapped potential because it's not just going to the lunar surface, right? It's also the fact that there are a ton of there could be resources there that we didn't even think of. There's a lot of just geometry, or not geometry, but there's a lot of other things that we can study and learn from the moon than what we once learned when we first landed there. I think there's just still a lot of helpful information there. Plus, at the same time, right, if we want to go to Mars, I think it would make a lot of sense. Now, of course, this is maybe a little bit more on the science fiction side, but it does make sense to create some sort of a space dock there on the moon, or some
Okay.
sort of space colony, because I think what the possibility of that is that it makes it to where the distance from where we are to Mars so much shorter. I mean, I'm not going to say a huge amount, but it's going to make it shorter, and it'll make it a better launching point from there.
Yeah.
Plus, we could use some of the resources that are on the moon to be able to fuel some of the creation of certain things or whatever like that. So I think the moon actually still has a pretty huge amount of um, resources that we can actually utilize and kind of
Sure.
help us move farther into the solar system.
Yeah. Right. Which I agree with that. I think there's like a balance that people are concerned about of colonizing and potentially, militarizing and politicizing those type of things. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know. I think that there's I would like to look at the positives of it and just say that there's space for everybody. Get it? Um, but there really is. There's no reason
Yeah.
that people have to hog or dominate all of that room. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh,
I was just gonna say, I think space, if anything, should be the one thing that us as a civilization should come together on
yeah,
and collaborate on, because it's something that goes so far beyond ourselves, right? It's the human race entering into the, or moving or spreading out farther into the solar system. And so I
yeah,
think it's so much more important for us to be together rather than it being a part of like some sort of political or uh, political type of gain, or even territorial country types of gain. It's a human race gain thing.
right. Which is really my thing. They on Star Trek, I realize it's fictional, but the whole Federation was all of the world had come together, right? And united, which I mean, that's the thing about it is there really is an opportunity here for people to work together in space rather than destroy each other on the way into space, right? Like
Hmm.
that would just be a bad look in front of all the aliens out there. We start fighting each other, kind of like the race to the moon, I believe. Yeah, I mean, has anyone seen that show? Oh man, what's it called? It's on Apple, I think, and it started off of what would happen if Russia beat us to the moon, but it really was like I thought it was going to stop there, but now new seasons come out and it's like 1985 and we're already colonizing Mars.
Mm.
Like what would have happened if Russia beat the US? There wouldn't have been any complacency on the space race.
Hmm.
That's a really fascinating thing to think about. I didn't know that they were going to continue that thought um, all the way down. But yeah, it really is kind of a fascinating thing that if Russia, if we hadn't won, because no one pushed us to keep going after that.
Yep, yep. Well, I mean, well, we talked about this way in the past, but a lot of the innovations that we have currently were products of space travel, of us
Yeah,
trying to push ourselves um, further than we ever have, and getting into space, getting into all sorts of stuff, because we had to create certain things to be able to properly navigate in space, keep people alive in space, and all sorts of
yeah,
other things like that. And so it forced innovation in some ways.
yeah. It's for all mankind is what
Yep.
the show's called. But you're right, man. I mean, even just fitting all those computers onto that small tube, really, I mean, that's what's crazy about it. And you look at how much time went by before we were able to have this in our hands, right? But this phone has hundreds of times more processing power than Apollo 11 did on board, and that
Hmm.
thing went to space. So grab your phone and a jetpack and an oxygen tank. Um, but yeah, I mean, it really is amazing how far so much has come. Radio communications improved. I mean, intranet communications and then internet. You know,
Hmm.
um, it's amazing. It really is. And so, yeah, I mean, this is really the thing that it's hard for people to understand. But that is why it's important to explore and do these things because it can spark innovation. And just as we talked about a couple weeks ago with F1 sparking innovation for car industry, I mean, space NASA developments spark innovation for everything, and
Hmm.
true as well. SpaceX, yeah, I'd really say SpaceX. I mean, Blue Origin hasn't really done anything the other that NASA and SpaceX haven't done. Um,
Yeah.
and Virgin Space. I don't remember what it's called. Anyway,
Virgin
um,
Galactic.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. They just go to the edge of space, which is still cool. I'm not trying to downplay that,
Oh yeah.
but but yeah. So those are really the main two innovators. There's a reason that SpaceX works with NASA, um, and these are things that would easily impact our day to day, whether it's through the fact that a rocket can automatically land. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? By itself, self land, and how that technology would feed self-driving cars, perhaps, those type
Mhm.
of things. Or more sustainable rocket fuel could impact development of more sustainable car fuel.
Yep.
um, yeah, it's really fascinating. So this is a lot of fun, really cool thing to talk about. I know it caught the attention of the internet all week, and so I definitely wanted to talk about it. But this was good stuff, man. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
It was amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So a week from tomorrow, Friday, July 22nd, my band's album comes out everywhere. I just want to remind people of that. We're going to play live at the Brickyard on that's in Wichita on Friday, July 22nd with some other great bands, Ether and Atria. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to share it with you guys. I just wanted to drop that in real fast. But that's it, man. It's good late night catch up. Glad we were able to do it.
I'm glad that we were able to as well. I mean, I always love talking about space, so
Hey, you got any closing thoughts, bro?
my biggest closing thought is, and it's actually going to be a question for our audience or something for them to mull over. Um, so, you know, if we are trying to say get to Mars, right? What would it take? Or I guess I should say this: if someone were to invented a ship, right, that is able to travel about half the speed of light, what would happen if, say, they went from Mars, or sorry, they went from Earth to Mars and then came back? What would they see? Would there
Mm,
be any times difference? Would things look the same? All that.
yeah.
Place a comment below if you're looking on the YouTube channel, but you can also leave a comment in a review on the audio versions. And also if you jump in on the live stream, or if you're in the live stream currently, or the next live stream that we do next Thursday, go ahead and drop in your answer there, and we'd love to talk about
That's a good question, man. What would
it.
it take for you to feel comfortable to go to Mars?
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
I
Well, it's
mean,
a little different, but yeah.
no, I mean, but I was wondering that for myself, though.
Oh yeah,
And
that's a good one.
yeah, I went,
Um, that's a hard one, man. For me, I would say I need to have some sort of semblance of what life is like here.
yeah.
I think
So
that's my big.
basically, terraform it.
Or at least have like a bubble city that's very similar to here.
Yeah,
That'd be dope.
that would be cool. Yeah, at least some sort of utopian kind of a thing.
Mm,
Um, right? Is that kind of what
yeah,
you're thinking?
yeah, or at least like a smaller environmental version of what we have on Earth right now, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be like the whole planet, but like a small like bubble or something like that we're in, and it's like a big giant city, and we have stuff. And yeah, it could be utopian, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, sure. Um, well, I think there's a lot to think about here. Yeah, I'm glad we had this discussion. And man, yeah, like Denson said, answer the comment or answer with a comment. Um, and jump in on the discussion, man. It's a good one. So
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll catch up with you next week.